The transport ship docked at Station Horizon 7 with a soft hiss of pressure locks. Commander Una Park picked up her single bag and walked down the metal ramp into the receiving bay. The air smelled clean but artificial, the way all space stations did. She had spent enough years on enough stations to know they all smelled the same. A young officer waited for her at the bottom of the ramp. He was human, tall, and nervous, holding a data pad like it might bite him. "Commander Park? I'm Lieutenant Do-Hwan Lee. I've been assigned to escort you to the training facility." Una looked at him. He was maybe 25 years old, with the soft hands of someone who had never fought outside a simulation. His uniform was too clean. His posture was too stiff. He was trying very hard to look like a soldier. "Lead the way," she said. They walked through long corridors filled with aliens of every shape and size. Veltari warriors towered over the crowd, their dark exoskeletons gleaming under the station lights. Mirathi traders moved in groups, their forearms gesturing in complex patterns as they talked. Small Phoenix runners darted between legs, carrying messages and packages. The United Galactic Fleet had brought together over 40 species under one banner. Peace through cooperation, they called it. Una had a different name for it, but she kept that to herself. "The Academy has been expecting you for 3 weeks, Do-Hwan said as they walked. There were some concerns about the delay. My previous assignment ran long. The Kepler-7 situation? Una did not answer. The Kepler-7 situation was classified at the highest levels. The fact that this young lieutenant knew even the name meant that information was leaking somewhere. She filed that away for later. They reached a large door marked with the symbol of the Fleet Academy. Do-Hwan pressed his hand to the scanner, and the door slid open. The training hall was massive. The ceiling rose 30 meters above the polished floor. Along the walls, bioscanners blinked with soft green lights, monitoring everything that happened inside. Training equipment lined the edges of the room, designed to work for species of every size and shape. And in the center of the room stood her new students. There were 12 of them, 8 aliens and 4 humans. The humans stood together in a small group, looking uncomfortable. The aliens spread out across the floor, watching Una with eyes of every color. The largest was a Veltari male. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, his exoskeleton the deep red of a warrior caste. His name, according to her files, was Koros. His family had produced generals for 9 generations. He looked at Una the way a predator looks at prey. Beside him stood a Mirathi female. Tessig was smaller, barely 2 meters, but her forearms ended in claws that could cut through steel. Her species was famous across the galaxy for producing the best assassins money could buy. She watched Una with cold, calculating eyes. The other aliens were less impressive, but still dangerous. 2 Fennec scouts, quick and clever. A Gorath heavy worlder, built like a walking mountain. 3 Palani swimmers, their blue skin glistening with moisture dot, and then the humans. Do-Hwan had joined them, standing with 3 others. Una recognized their types immediately. A pilot who had been transferred against his will. A medic who should have been in a hospital, not a combat training program. 2 engineers who looked like they had never held a weapon in their lives. The fleet had not sent her the best humanity had to offer. They had sent her the leftovers. Koros stepped forward. His translator box crackled as he spoke. "This is the famous human instructor? She looks old. She looks weak." He turned to the other aliens. "The humans send us a grandmother to teach combat." Laughter rippled through the alien cadets. The Mirathi did not laugh, but her eyes showed amusement. The humans stood very still, their faces carefully blank. Una set her bag down by the door. She walked to the center of the room, her boots clicking softly on the floor. She stopped 3 meters from Koros and looked up at him. The bioscanners along the walls remained green. "No threat detected. I am Commander Yuna Park, she said. Her voice was calm and quiet. I have served the United Galactic Fleet for 22 years. 15 of those years were spent in ground combat across 6 contested systems. I have killed members of every species represented in this room. I have trained soldiers who went on to kill many more. She let that sink in for a moment. I am not here to make friends. I am not here to hold your hands. I am here to teach you how to fight and how to survive. If you listen to me, you might live long enough to become useful. If you do not listen to me, you will die. Koros laughed again, but there was less confidence in it now. Human warriors are a joke, he said. Your species is known for diplomacy and trade. You build things. You talk. You do not fight. And yet, Yuna said, here I am. She turned her back on him and walked toward the training equipment. It was a deliberate insult. Among the Velthari, turning your back on an enemy meant you did not consider them a threat. Chorus's exoskeleton darkened with anger. We will begin with basic assessment, Yuna said. I need to know what each of you can do. Pair up. 1 alien, 1 human. You will spar for 5 minutes. No weapons. No killing strikes. I want to see your form. The cadets looked at each other uncertainly. The aliens clearly did not want to pair with humans. The humans clearly did not want to pair with anyone. Now, Yuna said they moved. Slowly at first, then faster as they realized she was not going to repeat herself. Koros grabbed Dohan by the arm and dragged him to the center of the floor. The young lieutenant's face went pale, but he did not resist. Tessic approached the human medic. A young woman named Jeon Choi. Jeon stood her ground. Even though the Mirthi's claws were centimeters from her face, the other pairs formed quickly. Soon, 12 cadets stood ready to fight. Yuna watched them from the edge of the room. The bioscanners blinked green. No threats detected. The machine saw 12 cadets and 1 aging human instructor. The machines were wrong. Yuna had spent 42 years learning to control what lived inside her. Every human learned it. They called it civilization, politeness, self-control. They taught it to their children before they could walk. They built entire societies around the idea that the violence inside them must be contained. The aliens did not know this. They saw humans and thought, weak. They saw diplomats and thought, harmless. They had never asked why humans developed 100 different ways to kill with bare hands. They had never wondered why human children play-fought from the moment they could stand. They would learn. Begin, Yuna said. The training hall filled with the sounds of combat. The first week was difficult. The second week was worse. Do-Hwan Lee had never wanted to be a ground soldier. He was a pilot. His hands belonged on the controls of a fighter craft, not wrapped in combat tape. But the fleet had decided he needed cross-training, and so here he was, getting beaten every single day. Koros had made him a special project. The Volthari warrior was faster than something his size had any right to be. His exoskeleton could stop a blade. His claws could tear through metal. And he took great pleasure in showing Do-Hwan exactly how weak humans were compared to real warriors. Every sparring session ended the same way. Do-Hwan on the floor. Koros standing over him. The other aliens laughing. Commander Park watched it all and said nothing. On the 8th day, Do-Hwan could not get up. He lay on the training floor, staring at the ceiling, trying to remember how to breathe. Something was wrong with his chest. Every breath felt like fire. Jeon ran to him, her medic training taking over. She pressed her hands against his ribs, and her face went pale. 2 fractures, she said quietly. Maybe 3. He needs the medical bay now. Koros stood over them, his translator crackling with what might have been laughter. The little human broke. How sad. Perhaps he should go home to his planet and hide with the other softskins. Yuna walked over slowly. She looked down at Do-hwan, then up at Karos. Her face showed nothing. Take him to medical, she told Jian. Training will continue. Jian helped Do-hwan to his feet. He could barely walk. Each step sent waves of pain through his body. But he refused to be carried. He would not give Karos that satisfaction. The medical bay was cold and white and smelled like chemicals. A Phoenix doctor examined Do-hwan with quick, efficient movements. 3 cracked ribs, as Jian had said. No internal bleeding. He would heal in 2 weeks with proper treatment. The impact pattern is consistent with a Valkyrie combat strike, the doctor noted. This was not an accident. I know, Do-hwan said. You could file a complaint. The fleet has rules about deliberate injury during training. Do-hwan laughed and immediately regretted it as pain shot through his chest. The Valkyrie rules say injuries during training are educational. Karos won't face any discipline. His family has too much power. The doctor said nothing. They both knew it was true. That night, Do-hwan went to Yuna's quarters. He had to stop twice along the way to catch his breath, but he made it. He pressed the door chime and waited. She opened the door wearing simple clothes, her gray hair loose around her shoulders. She looked older without her uniform, tired. Cadet Lee, you should be resting. I need to know why. She stepped aside and let him enter. Her quarters were small and plain. A bed, a desk, a single chair. No decorations. No personal items. It looked like nobody lived there at all. Why what? She asked. Why didn't you stop him? You saw what he was doing. You knew it wasn't an accident. Why didn't you fight back for us? Yuna sat down on the edge of her bed. She was quiet for a long moment. Sit, she said, pointing to the chair. Do-hwan sat. Moving hurt less now that the painkillers were working. Let me tell you a story, Yuna said. When I was young, about your age, I served on a joint mission with Valkyrie warriors. There was a disagreement about tactics. One of their officers challenged me to personal combat. What happened? I killed him. In front of his entire unit. It took less than 30 seconds. Do-hwan stared at her. She said it so calmly, like she was discussing the weather. The Valkyrie demanded justice. They said I had cheated somehow. No human could defeat one of their warriors in fair combat. There had to be trickery involved. Was there? Yuna smiled, but there was no warmth in it. No, I simply showed them what humans are capable of when we stop holding back. Then why don't you show Karos? Why do you let him hurt us? She looked at him with old, tired eyes. Because the moment I show them what humans truly are, I cannot take it back. Some knowledge changes everything. Once they know, they will never see us the same way again. They will never trust us again. Maybe they shouldn't trust us, Do-hwan said. Maybe not. But right now, humanity's position in the fleet depends on other species thinking we are harmless diplomats. If they knew the truth, we would have no allies. Only enemies who were too afraid to turn their backs on us. The bioscanners in the room flickered. Do-hwan saw the light change from green to yellow for just a moment. Then it went back to green. Malfunction, Yuna said quietly. The scanners on this station have been giving false readings since I arrived. Do-hwan looked at her. Really looked at her. She was 42 years old, with gray in her hair and lines on her face. She was smaller than he was, thinner, older. She looked like someone's grandmother, but the scanner had turned yellow. Just for a second. Just enough. What are you? He whispered. I am human, she said. The same as you. The same as every person on Earth. We just learned very long ago to hide what that means. She stood up and walked to the door. She opened it and waited. Go back to medical, Cadet Lee. Rest. Heal. When you return to training, keep your guard up. Karos will not stop until he breaks you completely, or until you give him a reason to stop. And you still won't help? I will help when the time is right. Not before. Dawan walked out into the corridor. His ribs ached. His pride ached worse. But somewhere deep inside him, something new was growing. Not anger exactly. Something colder. Something that had been sleeping his whole life and was just now starting to wake up. He was human. And apparently, that meant something more than he had ever known. Behind him, in her quarters, Yuna stood alone in the darkness. The bioscanner on the wall flickered again. Yellow, orange. Then slowly, reluctantly, back to green. She closed her eyes and focused on her breathing. Control. Always control. That was what separated humans from monsters. But control could only last so long. In the training hall, Koros was celebrating his victory with the other Velfari. They drank and laughed and talked about how weak humans were. How easy they were to break. How the galaxy would be better off without them. None of them noticed the bioscanner in the corner. It had stopped flickering. The light was steady now. Steady yellow. Warning. 3 weeks passed. Dawan's ribs healed. Training continued. Something strange was happening in the academy. The alien cadets had started to separate into groups. Koros led the largest one, a collection of warriors who believed humans had no place in the fleet. They grew bolder every day, pushing the human cadets harder, hurting them more. But not everyone agreed with Koros. Tessic, the Mirathi assassin, had started spending time with Ji-on Choi. At first, the other aliens thought it was a predator watching prey. Mirathi were famous for studying their targets before they killed them. But days turned into weeks and no attack came. Instead, the two of them studied together. Ji-on taught Tessic about human medicine. Tessic taught Ji-on about Mirathi combat forms. They ate meals together. They laughed together. Koros saw this as betrayal. You contaminate yourself with that soft skin, he told Tessic one morning. She makes you weak. Tessic's forearms folded across her chest. The human has faster reflexes than any Mirathi I have trained with. She learns our forms in days what takes our children years. Perhaps you should study her instead of mocking her. Humans are prey. Nothing more. Then why has Commander Park defeated warriors from every species in the fleet? Koros had no answer for that. He walked away, his exoskeleton dark with anger. But Tessic saw the way he looked at Ji-on before he left. There was something dangerous in that look. Something that went beyond simple hatred. She should have warned someone. She did not. That was her mistake. Night training was scheduled for the gravity manipulation chamber. The room could simulate gravity from 0 to 10 times standard, allowing cadets to practice combat in any conditions. Ji-on had signed up for solo practice at midnight. She wanted to work on her forms without the other cadets watching. Koros knew this. He had accessed the training schedule. He had a plan. Ji-on entered the chamber at exactly midnight. The door sealed behind her with a heavy click. She stretched, preparing for her workout, when the lights changed from white to red. Warning. Gravity manipulation in progress. She tried to reach the control panel, but her body was suddenly very heavy. Her legs buckled. She fell to her knees, then to her hands. The gravity was increasing rapidly. 2 times standard. 3 times. 4. The door slid open. Koros walked in, his Valkyrie body easily handling the increased gravity. He looked down at Ji-on, struggling to breathe under the crushing weight. Accidents happen in training, he said. A human body cannot survive 6 times standard gravity for long. Perhaps 5 minutes. Perhaps less. Ji-on tried to speak, but she could not draw enough breath. Her bones were starting to ache. Stress fractures forming. She was going to die here, alone, crushed by invisible force. This is what happens when prey forgets its place, Koros said. When training is over, I will tell them you made a mistake with the controls. No one will question it. Humans are known for their clumsiness. The gravity reached 4.5 times standard. Jian's vision started to go dark at the edges. She could feel her ribs bending, close to breaking. Her heart was working too hard, trying to pump blood through a body that weighed 4 times what it should. The door slid open again. Commander Yuna Park stood in the entrance. She looked at the scene for exactly 1 second. Jian on the floor. Koros standing over her. The gravity controls set to lethal levels. "Deactivate the system," Yuna said. Her voice was calm, quiet. "Now," Koros laughed. "You cannot give orders to a Valkyrie. Your species kneels. Your species begs. Your species does not command." Yuna stepped into the chamber. The heavy gravity should have dropped her to the floor like it had Jian. Instead, she walked normally, as if nothing had changed. Her boots clicked on the metal floor. Click, click, click. "I asked politely," she said. "I will not ask again." The bioscanners along the chamber walls began to chirp. Yellow warning lights appeared. Then orange. Koros roared and attacked. A Valkyrie kick could shatter steel plating. It could break through ship hulls. It could crush a human body into pulp. He put all of his strength into it, aiming for Yuna's head. The scanner printed threat level rising in bright red letters. The display numbers climbed so fast they became a blur. She stopped the cadet's kick one-handed. "Control yourself." She had not even looked at him. Her left hand caught his heel and held it frozen in the air, while her right hand reached past him to the control panel. She tapped 3 buttons. The gravity returned to normal.gy. Eon gasped and sucked in air. She was alive. Barely. Koros stared at his own leg, held motionless in Yuna's grip. He tried to pull back. He could not. He tried harder. Nothing moved. "That kick could have destroyed a combat vehicle," he whispered. His translator box made his voice shake. "I felt no resistance." "You stopped it like it was nothing." "Not nothing," Yuna said. She released his leg, and he stumbled backward. But close enough. The bioscanners were screaming now. Every light in the chamber had turned. Red. Warning, warning. The threat level displayed on the main screen was a number Koros had never seen before. It was higher than any Valkyrie warrior. Higher than Myrthi assassins. Higher than anything in the fleet database. "What are you?" Koros asked. "I am human." Yuna helped Jian to her feet. The young medic was shaking, her body covered in bruises, but she could stand. "Go to medical. Tell them what happened here." "All of it." "Yes, Commander." Jian limped toward the door. She paused at the entrance and looked back at Koros. The mighty Valkyrie warrior was pressed against the wall, as far from Yuna as he could get. His exoskeleton had gone pale. He was afraid not good, Jian thought. He should be. She left. Yuna stood alone with Koros in the red-lit chamber. The bioscanners continued their warning chorus. "You tried to murder one of my cadets," she said. "A human cadet. Under my protection. I was teaching her a lesson, showing her the natural order. Predator and prey." Yuna walked toward him. He backed away until he hit the wall. There was nowhere else to go. "Let me teach you something about Earth," she said. "On my planet, there are no natural predators for humans. Do you know why?" Koros shook his head. "Because we killed them all. Every species that hunted us, we hunted back. We did not stop until they were extinct. Every creature that threatened our children, we erased from existence. That is what humans do, Koros. That is what we are." She was close enough now that he could feel the heat from her body. So small, so fragile looking. And yet the scanner behind her showed numbers that kept climbing and climbing. "You have a choice," she said. "You can continue to see humans as prey. You can't keep trying to break us, hurt us, kill us. And one day, you will push us too far. And we will respond the way we always respond to predators." She smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Or you can learn. You can train with us, not against us. You can become our ally instead of our enemy. That choice is yours." She turned and walked toward the door. Just before she left, she looked back over her shoulder. "Choose carefully, Koros. Your entire species depends on it." The door closed behind her. Koros stood alone in the gravity chamber, surrounded by red lights and screaming warnings. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to be prey. The story spread through the station like fire dot by morning. Everyone knew that Commander Unipark had stopped a Velthury kick with one hand. By afternoon, the recordings from the gravity chamber had leaked to every corner of Horizon 7. By evening, the fleet command had called an emergency meeting. Commander Tayson Kwan was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served as the station's intelligence officer for 12 years, keeping secrets that would terrify most species. He had known this day would come eventually. He had hoped it would not be so soon. The meeting room was full. All the alien cadets sat on one side. All the human cadets sat on the other. Commander Park stood at the front, her face calm and unreadable. Koros sat in the back corner, saying nothing, looking at no one. "I have been authorized," Tayson began, "to share certain classified information about human military capabilities. This information is normally restricted to high-level diplomatic contacts only. After last night's events, Command has decided that a partial disclosure is necessary." He activated the holographic display. A blue planet appeared, floating in the center of the room. "This is Earth, the human homeworld. You have all seen images of it before. A garden world, you were told. A peaceful planet of diplomats and traders. A species that rose to power through negotiation rather than force." He paused. "Everything you were told was a lie." The display changed. Statistics appeared. Numbers, charts, graphs. The alien cadets leaned forward, trying to understand what they were seeing. "Earth's gravity is 15% above galactic standard," Tayson said. "This means that every human being is stronger than they would be if they evolved on a normal world. Our bones are denser. Our muscles are more compact. We are built to survive conditions that would crush most species." Tessic raised one of her 4 hands. "Many species evolved on heavy gravity worlds. This alone does not explain what we saw last night." "You are correct. Gravity is only the beginning." The display changed again. Images appeared. Ancient paintings, photographs, videos, humans fighting, humans killing, humans at war. Earth is what xenobiologists call a death world. Our planet tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. Predators hunted us. Diseases ravaged us. The climate changed constantly, forcing us to adapt or die. And we adapted. He pointed to an image of a tiger. "This is a creature from Earth. It weighs 300 kilograms. It has claws that can tear through bone. It is one of the most perfect killing machines ever evolved." The alien cadets shifted nervously. The creature looked terrifying. Humans hunted this animal for sport, for entertainment. We drove it nearly to extinction because we thought its fur looked pretty. Silence. Every species you see on Earth today survived because they were useful to us, or because they were too small to notice, or because we decided to let them live. Every large predator that ever threatened humanity is either dead or under our complete control. Koro spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet. "The bioscanners. They measure combat capability. They showed numbers I have never seen before. Numbers that should be impossible." Tayson nodded. "The bioscanner network was designed by Murithi engineers. It was calibrated based on known species in the fleet. When Commander Park first arrived on this station, the scanners registered her threat level and immediately flagged it as an error. Why? Because the numbers were higher than any species in the database. The engineers assumed the scanners were malfunctioning. They recalibrated them to treat Commander Park's readings as baseline noise. The room went very quiet. Commander Park is not special, Tayson continued. She is not modified. She is not enhanced. She is simply a human being who has trained her entire life for combat. Any human with similar training would produce similar results. One of the Phoenix cadets spoke up. But we have fought humans before. In training, they were not strong like this. You fought humans who were holding back. Tayson looked at the human cadets on the other side of the room. Every human in this room is holding back. Every human you have ever met was holding back. We learn to control our strength from the moment we can walk. It is the first thing we teach our children. Why? Tessic asked. Commander Park answered. Because if we did not learn control, we would kill each other. Humans are aggressive. We are violent. We evolved to fight every single day of our lives. The only way our species survived was by creating rules, laws, civilization. We built systems to contain the violence inside us. She walked to the holographic display and made it change. Images of human martial arts appeared. Boxing, wrestling, judo, taekwondo. Hundreds of different systems. All designed for one purpose. You asked why humans develop so many different ways to kill with bare hands. This is why. We needed to practice. We needed to train. We needed outlets for the violence that is part of our nature. So we turned killing into art. The display showed human soldiers, ancient warriors with swords, modern fighters with weapons that could level cities. Every human war produced new techniques, new weapons, new ways to destroy our enemies. We have spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing. And when we finally reached the stars, we looked around and saw that no other species had done the same thing. Because no other species needed to, Koro said slowly. Understanding was dawning on his face. Your planet was so dangerous that you had to become the most dangerous thing on it. Yes, and when you met other species in the galaxy, we saw how weak they were compared to us. We saw how easily we could destroy them if we wanted to. And we made a choice. Yuna walked back to the front of the room. We chose to hide what we were. We became diplomats, traitors, scientists. We let the galaxy see only the peaceful side of humanity. But the peaceful side is a mask, Tessic said. No, the peaceful side is real. We genuinely want cooperation. We genuinely want friendship. But underneath the desire for peace is something older, something darker. A predator that has never truly gone to sleep. The room was silent. Every alien was looking at the humans now. Really looking. Seeing them perhaps for the first time. Dowan sat with the other human cadets. He remembered his conversation with Commander Park in her quarters. He remembered the bioscanner flickering yellow. He remembered her words. Some knowledge changes everything. She was right. Everything had changed, but as he looked around the room, he realized that not everything had changed for the worse. Tessic was looking at Jian with new eyes, but there was no fear in them. Only respect. Only curiosity. Maybe this was the beginning of something better. Or maybe it was the beginning of something terrible. Either way, the truth was finally out. Tae-san turned off the holographic display. This information is still classified. You are not to share it with anyone outside this room. But from now on, training will be different. You will see what humans are truly capable of. And perhaps, if we are lucky, you will learn to fight alongside us instead of against us. He looked at Koros. Do you have any questions? The Velthari warrior stood up slowly. He walked across the room until he stood in front of Commander Park. He was twice her height, 3 times her weight. By all logic, he should have been the more dangerous one, but he knew better now. "Teach me," he said. "Teach me what you know. I want to understand." Yuna smiled. For the first time since she arrived, it looked genuine. "Then we begin tomorrow. All of you. No more holding back." The training hall awaited. 6 months had passed since the night in the gravity chamber. The academy had changed. Everything had changed. Jian stood in the medical bay, watching the last of her bone treatments finish. Her ribs had healed completely. More than healed. The doctors had reinforced them with the same techniques they used for combat soldiers. She was stronger now than she had ever been. Tessic waited outside the door. The Mirathi had not left Jian's side during the entire recovery. At first, the other aliens had whispered about it. A proud Mirathi assassin, protecting a human? But the whispers had stopped weeks ago. Now everyone accepted them as a pair. "Ready?" Tessic asked as Jian emerged. "Ready." They walked together toward the training hall. The corridors were different now. Humans and aliens walked side by side, talking, laughing. The fear was gone. In its place was something new: respect, understanding, maybe even friendship. The training hall doors slid open. Inside, Commander Park was demonstrating a throw to a group of mixed-species cadets. Kara stood at the front of the group, watching with absolute concentration. "The key is not strength," Yuna was saying. "Any species can be strong. The key is control. You must understand exactly how much force to use. Too little, and your opponent escapes. Too much, and you kill them when you only meant to disable." She gestured to Koros. The huge Velthari warrior stepped forward and took a fighting stance. "Attack me," Yuna said. Koros hesitated. He remembered the last time he had attacked her. The scanner still had the recordings. "It is training," Yuna said patiently. "You will not hurt me. I promise." He attacked. A punch this time, not a kick. Fast, powerful, enough force to crack stone. Yuna moved like water. She redirected his arm, twisted her body, and Koros flew through the air. He landed hard on the training mat, the impact shaking the floor. But he was not hurt. She had controlled the throw perfectly. Just enough force to demonstrate. Not enough to injure. He stood up, shaking his head with amazement. 6 months ago, you stopped my kick with one hand. Today, you throw me across the room. And still, I do not understand how. You will. Eventually. Human martial arts take years to master. Decades sometimes. But you are learning faster than I expected. Do-Hwan stepped out of the crowd. He looked different now. Hotter. More confident. The soft pilot who had arrived at the academy was gone. In his place was something new. "Commander, may I try?" Yuna smiled. "Of course." Do-Hwan faced Koros. The Velthari was still 3 times his size. Still covered in armor-like exoskeleton. Still one of the most dangerous warriors of his species. Koros attacked. The same punch he had thrown at Yuna. Do-Hwan moved. Not as smoothly as the commander, not as perfectly. But he moved. He caught Koros's arm, twisted, and threw. The Velthari hit the mat. Silence filled the training hall. Then, slowly, applause began. Aliens and humans clapping together. Koros stood up and looked at Do-Hwan with something that might have been respect. "You have improved," he said. "I had good teachers." After the demonstration, Yuna called the senior cadets together. Do-Hwan, Jian, Koros, Tessic, and a dozen others. They sat in a circle on the training floor, the bioscanners glowing steady green around them. "In 3 weeks, you graduate," Yuna said. "You will be assigned to fleet combat units across the galaxy. Some of you will serve together. Most of you will not. But all of you will carry what you learned here. Koro spoke. 6 months ago, I tried to kill Jian. I believed humans were prey. I believed your species was weak. He looked at Yuna. I was wrong. About everything. Not everything, Yuna said. You were right that humans hide what we are. You were right to question why. The answer is complicated. She stood and walked to the center of the circle. My people have been warriors since before we had words for war. We learned to kill before we learned to farm. We built civilizations on top of battlefields and then tore those civilizations down in new wars. This is our nature. This is what Earth made us. But you choose peace, Tessic said. You have the power to conquer, but you choose diplomacy. Because we learned something in all those centuries of killing each other. Strength without control is destruction. Power without wisdom is death. We could have come to the stars as conquerors. We chose not to. She looked around the circle, meeting every pair of eyes. The galaxy sees human diplomats and thinks we are harmless. They see our artists and think we are soft. They see our scientists and think we are weak. They are wrong. Every human they meet is a warrior wearing a mask of peace. We choose the mask. We choose to be kind. We choose to be gentle. But the moment the galaxy forces us to remove that mask, she paused. There are 8 billion of us on Earth. 8 billion apex predators from a death world. All of us trained from childhood to control the violence inside us. All of us capable of becoming what I am, given enough time and practice. Koro shuddered. That is why you hide. Not because you are afraid of us. Because you are afraid of what you might do to us. Yes. The room was silent. Then Jian spoke. But it doesn't have to be that way. Tonight proved it. We can train together. We can learn from each other. We can become allies. Yuna nodded. That is my hope. That is why I came here. Not to demonstrate human power. Not to intimidate you. But to build bridges. To show you that we can fight side by side instead of against each other. She returned to her place in the circle. You are the first class to truly understand what humans are. When you leave this academy, you will carry that knowledge with you. Use it wisely. Share it carefully. Help others understand that we are not something to fear. We are something to stand beside. The graduation ceremony 3 weeks later was unlike any before it. Human and alien cadets marched together. They wore the same uniforms. They carried the same weapons. And when they looked at each other, they saw not enemies, but partners. Dowan was assigned to a mixed species assault team. Koros was on the same team. They shook hands before departing, and the Valthyre's grip was gentle. I will watch your back, human, and I will watch yours. Jian and Tessic were assigned to the same medical frigate. They walked aboard together, side by side, and nobody questioned it. Yuna watched them all leave from the observation deck. The stars stretched out before her, infinite and cold. Somewhere out there, her students were beginning their journeys. They would face dangers she could not protect them from. They would make choices she could not guide. But they would not be alone. Human and alien, fighting together, understanding each other, trusting each other. This was what she had worked for. This was what humanity needed. Not conquest. Not fear. Cooperation. The bioscanners in the observation deck were properly calibrated now. They displayed her threat level accurately, without trying to hide it. The number never dropped below red. But that was okay. Because she knew something the machines did not understand. Red did not always mean danger. Sometimes it meant protection. Sometimes it meant that the most dangerous thing in the room was also the one most committed to peace. Yuna smiled and turned away from the window. There was a new class arriving tomorrow. More aliens who thought humans were weak. More challenges to face. She would be ready. She was human, after all. And humans were always ready for a fight, even when they chose not to start one.